Wow. What a dusty house. Coming home tired from work and you only do such a half-hearted cleaning. What kind of wife does that make you? My mother-in-law, Sandra, just wanted to criticize my housekeeping, saying something outrageous. Not to brag, but I have always worked as a housekeeper. I was trusted by the company and had a track record. Despite being recognized by clients, there was no reason for her to go this far. Dusty, you say? I've cleaned properly, and the air purifier hasn't reacted, so I think it's just your imagination. You're trying to defy me? I'm not trying to defy you, but I don't know if you were a housekeeper or not, but you're not doing it right, that's why I'm pointing it out. I've been a housewife for decades. Are you saying my observations are wrong? To be honest, that's exactly it. I want to say my mother-in-law's comments are wrong, and I actually think they are. If I may add, housekeeping has its own rules in every home, and it's not something outsiders should comment on. Yet here she is, coming over unannounced and complaining about my housekeeping, which is incredibly rude. But arguing with my mother-in-law any further is pointless. Knowing that one complaint would come back tenfold, I decided to change the subject. So, what brings you here today? We're gathering as a family to celebrate my son's marriage. We've decided to have the party here, so prepare meals for 30 relatives. It's this Saturday. What? This Saturday, as in 2 days from now? It's impossible for me alone to prepare meals for 30 people on such short notice. You're just the wife, so naturally, you should do as told without question. This is why I hate people without a college education. They don't know the first thing about social norms. Anyway, I've told you, so make sure everything is ready by Saturday. I'll be here by 10 a.m., so have it all prepared by then, understood? Sandra left after saying just that. But such a sudden request put me in a difficult spot. It's not that I can't cook, but preparing meals for 30 people by 10 a.m. is asking too much. When I discussed it with my husband, he promised to help. His reassuring words gave me some comfort, but it reminded me again of how unreasonable my mother-in-law was. Preparing meals for 30 took longer than expected, and before I knew it, it was 1 a.m. However, we managed to finish the preparations and went to bed. The next day, we got up at 7 a.m. and started rushing to get everything ready. Yet, for some reason, Sandra was the only one looking dissatisfied. Is there something wrong? Are you planning to serve such terrible food? Shame on you! Sandra started throwing the food into the sink after saying that. I was momentarily shocked, but managed to suppress my rising anger and retorted. That's not something I made. It was made by someone dear to you. What? My name is Angie, a 21-year-old working as a housekeeper. I've been working as a housekeeper since graduating from high school, classified as quite experienced within the company, valued despite my youth. Good morning. Angie, actually Tally is off today. Could you fill in for her? We'll have someone else cover your usual duties. Me? You're the most reliable one here, and you have high praise from the clients. Could you take over for Tally? She handles some demanding clients. Understood. I'll do my best to replace Tally. The pay was low, and as a traveling housekeeper, I often had to work overtime based on the client's demands. The company wasn't very financially flexible, offering low bonuses and not the best benefits, but being needed by the company was fulfilling and motivating for me. Moreover, I've always loved doing household chores, especially cleaning. Seeing a dirty place become clean is satisfying, and being thanked by clients is truly rewarding. I didn't go to college after high school due to financial issues, but mainly because I couldn't find anything I really wanted to do. That's why I enjoy the job I started, and every day feels fulfilling. One day. I'm back. Ah, nice to meet you. Hello. Our company has 2 entrances, the front and back, We, the employees, usually enter through the back because clients may be at the front. Entering from the back leads to the room where the office staff work, but today there was an unfamiliar man standing there. I'm Scott from Green IT Company. Nice to meet you. I hadn't heard of this company before, but he seemed to be from an IT company. Then the boss came in and he was led to the conference room. I asked an office worker present there, and they told me he came to discuss implementing a new website and employee management system for our use. So, he was just a salesperson. At that time, that's all I thought of it. However, it was decided to officially implement the system and website, and he began to visit our office frequently. I hadn't been involved in romance or much social interaction with men since graduating high school, being focused on work, so talking to a man felt rare and new to me. Since there were only female employees in this company, I gradually looked forward to his visits. Our interactions were just small talk whenever we met, but I enjoyed them. What time do you finish work today? If you're free, how about dinner together? There's an Italian restaurant I frequent that's really good. You mentioned wanting to eat delicious pizza the other day, right? How about it? Me? Yes, I've been wanting to ask you out to dinner. If you're busy, that's totally fine, just let me know. I finish work at 6 today and don't have any plans afterward. Is that so? Then, would you like to go? I finish at the same time, so I can come pick you up. I was truly surprised to be asked out by him, as I hadn't expected it. To be honest, I already had feelings for him. It might seem quick to some, but having been away from male interaction for years, the time spent with him was enough to make me fall in love. After several dinner dates, I felt that he reciprocated my feelings, and I initiated the relationship. He was what you'd call a herbivore man, quite shy, but we still managed to have a fun dating life. A year passed, and we got married. I truly believed that with him, I could build a happy home. Nice to meet you, I'm Angie. I'd give you a 60 out of 100 in looks. There are cuter and better looking girls out there, no need for him to marry a mediocre woman like you. Hey, don't say such rude things in front of her. To me, she's perfect. She's a 120 out of 100. I blushed at his defense, but I was still shocked by the first thing his mother said. I didn't expect such rude comments at our first meeting. Of course, I was nervous and wanted to make a good impression on his parents. So I didn't get angry, but the shock was tremendous. I don't consider myself particularly cute, but I didn't expect to be criticized for my looks in such a manner. I just spoke the truth, so I don't think I did anything wrong. Well, make yourself comfortable. Thank you. Sandra then went towards the kitchen. Maybe she was going to make tea. The moment Sandra was out of sight, my tension melted away momentarily, and the weight on my shoulders dropped. This is so nerve-wracking. I might become less talkative, so I'm counting on you to back me up. You don't need to be so nervous. But I'm sorry for what my mom said earlier. She's probably a bit nervous too. I think she didn't mean any harm, so please forgive her. Right, I didn't take it too seriously, and I'm not that upset about it. I pretended not to mind to ease his worries, but honestly, there was still some lingering discomfort. I wondered if I could get along with someone who says such things at our first meeting. I genuinely thought that. Maybe she was opposed to our marriage. There was no evidence or certainty, but somewhere in my heart, I felt it might be the case. He lost his father in middle school and was raised in a single-parent family. Raising a child alone involves various hardships, not just financial or time-related, so I believed Sandra cherished him greatly. It wouldn't be surprising if she couldn't wholeheartedly celebrate his marriage to a stranger. I tried hard to understand Sandra's feelings and accept the current situation. However, even as a guest, sitting around while I'm making tea, aren't you finished as a wife? Do you even want to make a good impression on me? I'm so sorry. I apologize for my behavior. Hey, I've been thinking, you're being too hard on her. You're not opposed to my marriage, right? Of course, I'm all for the marriage. It's a joyous occasion, and I'm eager to see my grandchild soon. Then could you please not say things that hurt her? We're meeting for the first time, and we're here just for a marriage introduction. Don't expect too much today. He desperately defended me, and I couldn't get too upset with Sandra, my mother-in-law, at our first meeting. I wondered if marriage would always bring mother-in-law issues. The thought of perpetually strained relations made me anxious, but for now, it was crucial to finish the marriage introduction without making things worse. I carefully watched every move Sandra made, refilling tea when needed, and made sure to wash the teacup I used before leaving. Thank you for everything today. Once we set a wedding date, I'll get in touch again. Take care until then. Have a safe trip back. Sandra came out to the entrance, waving as she saw us off. However, her gaze seemed fixed only on him. Not me, without a single word of greeting to me, glaring fiercely whenever we were alone in the kitchen, and I was reprimanded several times. The thought of having to build a good relationship with such a person made marrying him seem burdensome, and I began to question if my decision was really the right one. But it was too late for regrets. Besides, the issue wasn't with my husband himself. If it became unbearable, I planned to ask him to ensure that Sandra and I never meet again. That was the extent of my thoughts. However, to him, she was still the only mother who raised him single-handedly, and observing their daily life, I could see he truly cherished her. Understanding the importance of parents myself, I hoped to maintain a relationship with my husband without much interference from Sandra. Then, we got married, and our life as a couple began. Sandra lived alone, not needing any care, and we led a life with minimal interference. But such a life ended just a month into our marriage. One day, after seeing off my husband, I was doing housework when the doorbell rang. It's been a while. Aren't you at work today? Well, I've hurt my back, making it difficult to work as a housekeeper. With my husband's income, I'm thinking of finding some work from home. For now, I'm a full-time homemaker. Turning into a full-time homemaker right after getting married, huh? Were you just gold digging? Seeing my son only as a wallet? That's not true at all. I had intended to continue working even after getting married. I was truly irritated by such heartless comments. I found it incredibly rude of her to come over without any notice. What would she have done if I hadn't been home? She probably knew I would be here and had heard from my husband that I quit my job due to my back pain. Despite knowing, she came to make snide remarks like earlier. Well, whatever, let me in your house. Sure. Fortunately, I had finished most of the housework before she arrived, so there was nothing to be troubled about with her entering. But I was shocked by her words the moment she entered. Wow! What a dusty house. Coming home tired from work and you only do such a half-hearted cleaning, what kind of wife does that make you? Sandra just wanted to criticize my housekeeping, saying something outrageous. Not to brag, but I have always worked as a housekeeper. I was trusted by the company and had a track record. Being recognized by clients, there was no reason for her to go this far. Dusty? I've cleaned properly, and the air purifier isn't indicating any dust, so I think it's just your imagination. Are you trying to defy me? I'm not trying to defy you, but I don't know if you were a housekeeper or not, but you're not doing it right, that's why I'm pointing it out. I've been a housewife for decades. Are you saying my observations are wrong? To be honest, yes. I want to say that my mother-in-law's comments are wrong, and I actually think they are. Moreover, if I may add, housekeeping has its own rules for each household, and it's not something an outsider should comment on. Yet here she is, coming over unannounced and criticizing my housekeeping, which is incredibly rude. But arguing with my mother-in-law is pointless. knowing that one word from me would come back tenfold, so I decided to change the subject. So, what brings you here today? For my son's wedding celebration, we're gathering as a family. We've decided to have the party here, so prepare meals for 30 relatives. It's this Saturday. What? This Saturday, as in 2 days from now? It's impossible for me alone to handle meals for 30 people on such short notice. You're just the wife, so naturally, you should do as told without question. This is why I dislike people who haven't gone to college. They lack basic social norms. Anyway, I've informed you, so make sure everything is ready by Saturday. I'll be here by 10 a.m., so have it all prepared by then, got it? Sandra left after saying just that. But such a sudden request was troubling. It's not that I can't cook, but preparing meals for 30 people by 10 a.m. is indeed too much. I am just one person. Moreover, Sandra didn't give any details about what kind of food to prepare, who has allergies, how many adults and children there are, or what to do about alcohol. And yet, if I prepare things my way, she'll probably complain again. I was really tired of Sandra but had no choice but to consult my husband about this. Although he came home a bit late due to overtime, around 8 p.m., I decided to tell him about what happened today. Your mother said this to me, what should I do? Seriously? She decided everything on her own? It seems so. I'll contact my mom about it. And if we really have to do this on Saturday, I'll help out, so don't worry. I won't leave everything to you. Thank you. His supportive words gave me some relief, but Sandra's unreasonableness was evident again. Eventually, after talking to Sandra, the weekend wedding celebration party was confirmed. I thought, why did it turn out like this, but what was decided couldn't be changed. My husband and I decided to plan the menu together and start preparations on Friday night. Despite being a busy period, he came home on time that Friday night. I felt a bit guilty for the inconvenience it caused to his coworkers and what they might think of him, but all this was Sandra's fault. I thought I should perhaps be more assertive, and we began the preparations together. Preparing meals for 30 people took longer than expected, and before we knew it, it was 1 a.m. I was filled with regret for making my husband, who must have been tired from work, help out so late. I really wanted my husband to rest immediately, but this time it wasn't possible. After somehow finishing the preparations, we went straight to bed. The next day, we got up at 7 a.m. and rushed to get everything ready, managing to finish on time, much to my relief. As the relatives arrived, they seemed surprised that we had cooked all the food ourselves. Many of them had assumed we would order out for such a large gathering and felt guilty for the amount of work we had done, expressing their gratitude. However, Sandra alone looked dissatisfied, glaring at me. Is there something wrong? Do you intend to serve such terrible food? Shame on you! Sandra suddenly changed her demeanor and yelled at me as if venting her accumulated frustrations. Stunned, I was momentarily speechless as Sandra began throwing the dishes we had prepared into the sink. Shocked, I was frozen and speechless, and the relatives seemed equally perplexed by the unfolding events. In the presence of all these relatives, is this the best you can serve, leftovers like meals? What can you even do as a wife? Sandra glared and spat out those words. I was dumbfounded until the end, but then anger started to well up within me. I thought about the effort my husband and I put into preparing all this food. Without thinking about it, she ruins everything just because of her own feelings. She probably just wanted to see me struggle with the unreasonable demands she made. Thinking I couldn't possibly prepare food for 30 people, and got upset when she saw the extensive preparations we made. But there are things that are acceptable and things that are not. Even in a long life like hers. Leftovers like meals? Yes, I tasted it earlier, and such horribly tasting food can't be served. We are not dogs, think a little. Or do you think it's okay because it's not your own family? I'm very sorry for that. However, the food you tasted earlier was not made by me. What? Sandra probably thought I had prepared all the food by myself. If she thinks I'm capable of that, she's overestimating me. I may have worked as a housekeeper, but I'm not a chef. It's impossible to make such a large amount of food alone. Half of the food lined up was made by my husband, and even the dish Sandra had tasted earlier was his work. Despite loving her son dearly, Sandra had mistaken it for my cooking and lashed out. She seemed to finally realize the gravity of what she had done. I worked hard to make it, but maybe it didn't taste good because I don't usually cook? No. Are you kidding? You made this? But you were supposed to be working. That's right. It should be obvious, but it's impossible for one person to make this amount of food. But Mom insisted on having it this Saturday, so I helped make it. I came home on time yesterday to assist Angie. Perhaps regretting her actions of ruining the food her beloved son made, Sandra was speechless and wide-eyed in shock. She must have realized the enormity of her mistake, but it was too late to think about it now. What Sandra did could not be undone, and not just I but also the attending relatives were quite upset. Some were probably shocked, not knowing Sandra's true nature. I'm sorry it didn't suit your taste. No, it's not about that, it's just that. I was really shocked, but then I thought, what is considered leftovers here? What didn't you like about this wonderful meal we prepared? Well, about that. Sandra began to lose ground, being criticized not only by my husband but also by other relatives. Her earlier assertiveness shrinking away. But I wasn't planning to let it end with just an apology. I wanted Sandra to understand the foolishness of her actions and take responsibility. It doesn't matter who made it, does it? It's wrong to ruin something made with effort based on personal feelings. And this gathering wasn't about you being the main character. We gathered to celebrate the marriage. What were you thinking? Do you even understand what you did? Quiet. It's none of your business. You, a mere wife, don't lecture me. Despite being completely subdued earlier, Sandra snapped back the moment I raised my voice, her anger reflexively targeting me regardless of the situation. Reflexively, she seems to get angry at me, no matter what the situation is against me. It seemed almost pathological at this point, but it couldn't be helped. Wait a minute. Why are you flipping out on her like this? Do you change your behavior based on who it is? And what's this about a wife's place? Just because she's my wife, does that mean she can't say anything to you? That's different, isn't it? You wouldn't lecture your boss even if they were wrong, right? That's basic social etiquette. So what? That's not what I'm talking about. Why do you think a wife is beneath you? And don't you realize what you did was wrong? Although my husband is usually mild-mannered and basically kind to my mother-in-law due to his background of growing up in a mother-son household, there was no warmth left in his eyes anymore. The same goes for his relatives, all of whom stared at my mother-in-law as if she were a piece of trash. I think my mother-in-law herself knew that there was no one on her side here, but I guess she couldn't back down now that she had come this far. A wife is supposed to be treated and spoken to like this. Despite what people say about changing times, it doesn't matter. A wife is naturally meant to serve her family without breaks or allies. In a family, the wife's place is at the bottom. Sandra declared, perhaps venting her feelings to everyone. Realizing her outdated mindset or perhaps thinking the modern mindset is wrong. No one here took Sandra's rant seriously. In a room of 30 people, not a single person sided with her. Seeing the situation, I wondered if she would realize her mistake. Enough, talking to you is pointless, leave. And don't come near this house again. What? The allowance I've been sending will stop, and from now on, you're on your own. I'm severing ties with you as family. You've disrespected the person I married, so I won't value you anymore. Live your life however you want. I won't care what happens. I knew my husband had been sending money to Sandra, but I never expected it to come to this. She brought this upon herself. No one was going to help her, and everyone agreed with my husband. Just go, don't dawdle. But don't make me angrier. Just the sight of you is pushing my patience. Leave before I do something I regret. Sandra left with a pitiful look. The mood spoiled by her actions, but my husband and the relatives managed to lift the spirits, and we eventually forgot about her and enjoyed the celebration. I'm really sorry about my mom. But she won't bother us anymore. Thank you, and sorry for the trouble. It's not a bother at all. Protecting the one I love is my job. My husband made that clear to me, and it put my mind at ease. From then on, we no longer had to deal with Sandra and led a happy life. I heard from relatives that she's struggling without my husband's financial support, but it's no longer my concern. Now, we focus on our happy life together, confident we can overcome any future challenges. Of course, we know that life is long and many problems will confront us in the future, but we are confident that we will overcome whatever problems may stand in our way. Our bond as a couple has deepened, and we look forward to continuing our journey together, strengthening our relationship and living happily.